Throughout this season, Wet Lemons and ERT Cavababo have been the standout men here in TGB2. 9 victories between them, and both drivers are looking for an almighty battle going into the final 4 weeks of this season, both seeking to claim their first ever TGP League title. There are just 4 weeks to go, as I mentioned, and the gap is still below 22 points. And then behind them, it's the chasing trio of Theo, Daniel and Chris, who are all looking to close in and potentially make it a 5-way fight. Tonight, we have races at Italy and then Russia. 2 circuits that have always given us entertaining racing in the past. Of course, we stand with Ukraine and everything that's going on in the world right now. It really is hard to believe that in 2022, someone so unintelligent can think war really is the answer. You may have heard me mention that we do race in Russia tonight, purely coincidental and a fact that has been discussed between the leaders and the drivers of the league. This being just a game, the discussion was that should the race in Russia be scrapped with such little notice at a decisive point of the season. It was a very close vote with mixed opinions, but ultimately the decision was made to race on in Russia after Monza tonight, albeit with no branding to the race and the chance for us to get an all-Ukrainian supported podium with the drivers all running Ukraine flags tonight. So welcome to our first of 2 races here. This is Monza. We're coming into the final 4 weeks of the season, and this title battle is really hotting up. And the 2 title contenders at the moment, I can see are just 4th and 5th. It's been a poor qualifying for them so far, Jonas.
Yes, indeed. Just in the last few moments, Ferro Hickman taking pole position, the reigning champ in the Williams, just as he's entering the pit lane, having gone fastest into the 120s, the first of the drivers tonight to have done so. Cena doing a good job so far as well in P2. Was briefly pole until Ferro took the lap. Wet Lemons has just come into the pits, having just completed his second run. Did improve in time, but didn't gain a position. Cavababo coming to the line. He would be had he not just invalidated, and he's entered the pits. So the 2 championship contenders are really up against it to get to the front in this qualifying session.
Yeah, Cavababo once again pushing, trying to make sure he gets pole position here. He really needs it. He's 22 points adrift of his title rival, Wet Lemons. And Wet Lemons only 4th for the moment. This is a real chance for Cavababo to start much higher up on the grid and take back a huge point haul at this decisive point of the season. But he did go a bit wide at the start of the 3rd sector. Just 4 wheels over the white line. Then the lap time was invalidated, so he does not improve on his lap time. And neither does Vote Mayor Quimby. He's back into the pit lane. No invalidation, but no improvement for the Mercedes man.
Yeah, I believe he had just completed his first lap, so that was an in-lap. He joined a bit later session, maybe a couple of connection issues, but it all seems sorted now for the Mercedes driver. He's up in P6, quite a way off his teammate Daniel P. Wilnut, who's doing a great job in P3 at the moment, who's only 2/10 of pole position himself. Meanwhile, I think Cena is just on a flying lap now. It's just begun, so he's coming down towards the first chicane. Let's see how he goes on this lap.
Yeah, and we're going to see Joe Sayer come around the final corner now. The McLaren of Angel vs Death does not improve. What about Sayer Sports P8 at the moment? Can he improve on that current lap time? He stays 8, so not the improvement that he wanted. Mackey's coming through the middle sector now. We've got a Ferrari also on their outlaps. Keep an eye on Parser. As you said, we'll follow the cars in the 1st and 2nd sectors shortly. But Mackey coming up to the final corner now, starts P11 at the moment, just outside that top 10. Probably where you want to start if you are indecisive Mackey. You're not necessarily going to be at the front, so why not start 11th with a clean set of tyres? And he's going to dive straight back into the pit, so no improvement. Once again, as I said, he doesn't want to get a quicker time and start on used tyres, John.
No, I think for a race like Monza, the tyre wear can be pretty high on the soft, so being P11 isn't the end of the world, especially on a track which is so easy to overtake at. Meanwhile, M-Shep has just gone to P6 in the 2nd AlphaTauri, so he's up there with his teammate Cena. He did just make an error at the start of his in-lap. He actually ended up on the gravel, but he has safely rejoined and got going again. We'll keep an eye on Parser, who's currently down in P17. Struggling so far in the session. He's coming towards Sector 2 now, though, and he's definitely improving. Let's see how he does towards the end of the lap.
Yeah, both Ferraris are out at the moment, both finding time. Parser needs to get a good lap, and he has a very unfortunate habit of crashing out in qualifying sessions. I think he's crashed out in at least 8 qualifying so far from what I've seen in the first 14 rounds or so. But let's come around the final corner now. Parser needs to get himself really on the front 2 rows if it's a challenge for the race win and help his teammate out in this title battle. The Ferrari man round the final corner. Can he get himself right to the front? He can't. It's 16th. That's a poor lap, John.
Yeah, not very quick at all, but in the end, maybe he made a mistake early on and just thought just to get a safe lap in, just to gain a position or two and see if he's going again. He has kept his ERS levels up, so I think he's going to push this time and go for another lap. That might prove a little costly if he gets to the top 10 with the tyre condition, but we will see how he does as Wet Lemons come to the line now. He's looking for a very good time. It's pole position, nearly a quarter of a second clear of Theo, who's just about to start his lap just behind. So it's a Ferrari on pole in Italy. The Tifosi going wild.
Yeah, what a lap that was from Lemons. 2/10 clear of Theo, who's just starting his next time lap now. It will be his final lap in the session. I'm not sure Wet Lemons will get another lap in, so it's down to those behind to see what they can do about his 1:20.7. Can he claim another pole position this season? He's already assured himself a promotion to TGB1 next season. That season starts at the end of March, so do join us for that. But we've still got a TGB2 campaign to finish first, and Wet Lemons still looking to try and claim his first ever title in the league. We've got Daniel P. Wheelnut, fourth at the moment, going to get a nice tow from the Williams ahead of him, I think. Ooh. What have you seen, Jonas?
Speaking of Williams, Theo is in the barrier at the second chicane. He's hopped over the curb, he's lost control. He shouldn't have a issue, but McLaren's just gone off at the same time.
Yeah, in sympathy.
That looks like it's Kaya, who's both cars not out the session though. That might have just held up Chris Johnson, but he is on an out lap, so that's not going to hinder the Aston Martin too much in his preparation. Daniel P. Wheelnut though in the last corner now, the Parabolica. He's going to run a bit too wide though. That could be an invalidation. It looks like he's got away with it, but he's coming into the pits, so that's the end of his session as we are into the last minute near enough.
Yeah, then, so not what Theo needs. I'm not sure he'll get another lap in. He's going to have to sort of recover as Camababo drifts around turn 2. Not what he needs. He's trying to get himself right at the front. Of course, he is in the title battle. 22 points adrift of Wet Lemons, who has now completed his qualifying session at 120.7 to beat Blair Grills as 6th at the moment. The Grills brothers are 5th and 6th. Can Camababo, though, try and get a few places ahead of his much older, much wiser, much sexier brother, Blair Grills? Camababo, currently P5 at the moment, needs to find 7/10 of a second to get anywhere near the time of Wet Lemons so far. Looks like Cena and Wheelnut are done with their sessions. Theo Hitman is going again. We've got yellow flags in the final setup. That shouldn't be much concern for the other drivers. Let's see if Passing can find time too. He's up to 11th at the moment. Not what he really wants here. And Camababo coming round this final corner. That's where he's invalidated twice already. This time he gets it right. It's a good lap so far for the Alpine man. He needs a huge result here if he's to get his title charge really going. He's 22 points adrift, as I've mentioned many times already. And this is a huge chance for him to get back at the front. He needs to be at least second, surely. But Theo's still out there, and he's finding time in the first sector. What about Camababo? Can he improve on 5th? He crosses the line and stays 5th, Jonas. That's not what he needed at all, and Theo's done. He's gone wide at the second chicane, and his qualifying's also over.
Yep, it's a disaster for the Alpine driver looking to try and close the gap on his Ferrari title rival. He looks pretty safe in pole now, it has to be said, unless Bear Grylls comes up with some magic in his final lap. He's just coming up the Parabolica now, come towards the line. He's got to get into the 120s to have a chance of pole. He doesn't. He stays P6, so he will remain on the third row of the grid. Owens on the lap in P8. We've got Chris Johnson, who looks like he's backed off. Joe's just had a big accident and exit for Sky. He's out of session.
Joe Sayer then is out of this Grand Prix. He's won it, I think, 2 or 3 times in the past before. This is a track Joe tends to like. One of the most successful drivers here in TGB2, but so far it's not going to be the ideal qualifying for him. He starts 10th, sort of the worst of the drivers that don't get a clean set of tyres for the race. What can Mayor Quemby do? He really started to show his pace in recent weeks, hasn't he? The Mercedes man starting to come alive here in TGB2. Can he show a shock here and put himself right at the front ahead of Wet Lemons? Can he get in between the 2 title contenders? It might not be good enough for pole, but Mayor Quemby goes into 5th and indeed does split the 2 title contenders. He's into 5th, Camababo down to 6th. 5/10 adrift off Wet Lemons. It's going to be a real ask already to take points off the Ferrari man here at Monza.
Yeah, it's going to be a tricky one for Camababo. Maybe he's planned, maybe he's set up more for the race. Maybe it's just something in the setup not quite right, but he's got a lot of work to do from P6. Owen, meanwhile, is just 1,000th of his teammates, so I think both Mercedes have pushed that car to its limits.
Well, that's qualifying complete. What a session it was. Pretty dramatic. And you can see Wet Lemons quickest by 0.2 of a second. Cena gets 3rd. A good qualifying for him with the Mercedes drivers 4th and 5th. Camababo will start P6. Not where he needs, but there's still a long way to go tonight. This is only qualifying. The points, of course, are scored in the races. Blair Grills and M-Shep are on that 4th row with Chris Johnson, who'll be gutted to be down in P9, but he's shown in the past that he is a man when it comes to race day. Sayer Sports is 10th, Deposa only 11th. Keep an eye on him. Will he start on the medium tyres in the race? Mackie 12th, Mick Schumacher 13th, Angel vs. Defen 14th, Kaya, Kim, Stereogram, John and Jacko, and Bazza the 3. Look at that. John, Jacko and Bazza right at the back. The 3 musketeers of TGB2. Not a qualifying to remember for any of those 3.
Yeah, disaster for Alfa Romeo at their home race. Both cars retired for the session, having crashed at the same corner within a couple of minutes of each other, so they'll be hoping for much better in the race. Something to point out for the start, though, is it looks like Cena disconnected right at the end of the session. He has rejoined, but he may not be able to take the start. So that might just make it a little easier for Camo Babo. He might have a car out of the way before the race has even begun, really.
Yep, so it's going to be dry clouds here at Italy. No chance of rain throughout the race, which of course is good for everyone that isn't Wet Lemons. Wet Lemons has dominated in previous wet races this season. He just comes alive. I don't know what it is, just finds a second over anyone else. So thankfully, for the race's sake, it is going to be a dry race. So we don't need rain here at Monza. We always get fantastic showdowns around this Temple of Speed. So about to go then for round 15 of the season here at Italy as we come up to the final 4 weeks of this TGP2 season.
Just waiting for the cars to start on the grid. Should be a few moments from now.
I think potentially Cena rejoining and leaving the session may have actually confused the lobby a little bit.
It does seem to be taking a bit longer than usual, but we'll wait and see what happens here. Meanwhile, you can see the pit lane and the front wings and everything, but there we are, and we've lost another one. It's M-Shep who's disconnected.
Yeah, from P4 on the grid, but lights on here at Monza and lights off. What a start it is from Wet Lemons. A brilliant start from the Fryman. Already Theo under attack from Daniel Pigwheelnut behind him. Cena dropping back. He looks like he may have disconnected and not rejoined in time, but what a start from Wet Lemons, staying ahead, crucially, of everyone else. And Daniel Pigwheelnut up to second already. Cena and Cababo are ahead of Owen. Not the start the Mercedes man wanted. No incidents into turn 1 at the moment. No safety car or VSC just yet, but what a start it was. And already Wheelnut getting closer and closer to Lemons. Can he maybe spring an attack here in the opening couple of corners? Looks like he's going to settle for second for now. He's going to wait for his opportunity. Further back, we've got Cababo and Owen fighting for 6th and 7th. They're going side by side. And Cabababo's round the championship contender right at the back of the grid. That's not what he needed. He's 20th already. And that's a huge, dramatic twist for this championship. I'm not sure who he came together with. I think it may have been with Chris Johnson.
I think it was the Aston Martin driver. Cameron Babbitt kind of got swamped into the first chicane. A number of cars managing to get all together. And this got an accident at the back as well. It's Blair Grills out of the race. Angel versus Death has lost his front wing, and it's a safety car already here at Monza.
Yeah, so Blair Grills lost the back end of the car on the grass and he went into the barriers. He is out of the race, and that has brought out a full course yellow. Safety car is out, and the drivers now will surely all dive into the pits for a new set of tyres. I'm trying to see who this is going to cost. Anyone going to have to queue? Looks like maybe Votemayor Quemby will have to queue. Lemons and Wheelnut are straight in. Theo also coming in, and Wet Lemons has a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. The championship leader, he just needs to get the points. Now his rival is at the back of the grid, but that's a huge blow for him. What does Cababo do? Does he do something different here? Does he stay out? Will he just dive into the pits and have to queue behind his teammate? Mackie looks like he's going to go for the queuing option because he's backing off into the pit lane. No rush for the Alpine man, but who out there has stayed out? Votemayor Quemby on the soft tyres. I think anyone mediums will have stayed out, potentially. Mick Schumacher, though, also on the softs. Kaya, we saw him get P2 in the end at a crazy weekend last time out. He's third at the moment. M-Shep's fourth. Stereogram and Kim into the top 6. Looks like anyone in the top 6 are yet to make a stop in this race. So Wet Lemons does still lead the order, but does now carry a 5-second time penalty. And I mean, is there any excuse for that, John, to get a 5-second penalty when it's under safety car conditions?
No, there's not really. You just need to get it down below the limit. It's no real pressure. The car behind isn't going to be close enough to really jump you in the pits. Most pit crews sit a very similar time. It's interesting for Owen to have stayed out. I think he realised he was going to get held up in the pits due to the double stack. Meanwhile, Kaya and Red Bull Kim, the only guys on mediums, it makes sense for them to stay out. But of course, with Wet Lemons getting the speed and penalty as he enters the pits, the game doesn't let you serve it immediately. He gets stuck with it, so unless he decides to pit again under another safety car, if there is to be one, he's going to have 5 seconds added to his race time. And with the field all bunched up now, all together, having pitted, that's going to make life difficult for the Ferrari driver and championship leader.
Yeah, so a real mistake there from the Ferrari man. Didn't need to make it, but he's gone and done it. Maybe feeling the pressure a little bit from Wheelnut, who is behind him. Wheelnut looking very good now for a potential win if he can stay within 5 seconds of Wet Lemon. Safety car shuts out for one more course of this track, despite the field already being bunched up. That's how close everyone is. Pretty much everyone came into the pits, as I said, apart from the top 6. We've all chosen to stay out. And if anyone in the top 6 pits now, I'm going to be very cross-Johners, because I don't see why you would stay out. And there is going to be one, is there? No, I don't believe it, Kim. They've all listened to me. I've just called you Kim, Johners. I don't believe it, Johners. The top 6 have all stayed out. They've stuck with it. Brilliant stuff.
Kim was going for the dummy, I think, there a little bit, trying to throw the cars off behind.
He's trying to trick me. He's trying to trick me, Kim.
I was going to point out Chris Johnson had a very good start. He gained about 4 spots from 9th on the grid, and both Alfa and Myers had gone from the back of the grid to 11th and 12th when the safety car was called. Due to the double stack at the start, Baz has dropped back to the back of the field. Jacko's in P15, but when you take away the 6 cars in front, he's already up to net P9, so it's a great first lap for the Alfa Romeo driver. Back after a few weeks away, and after a disappointing qualifying, he's done a good job on that opening lap. That's the kind of performances you need to get towards the front in a race like this.
So, Daniel P. Wheelnut, arguably one of the favourites for next season, of course. All of Wet Lemons, ERT Carababo and Theo Hitman have earned promotion to TGP1, and that leaves a very exciting field next season. I really can't call it. But one man that has emerged as a potential favourite is Daniel P. Wheelnut. He's only ever won one race before and had one pole position, but he could very well take his first win of this season and his second career victory here at Monza if, as I said, he keeps within 5 seconds of Wet Lemons. Doesn't need to sort of make any mistakes, but the bad news for him is both he and Lemons are going to have to fight their way through the field because they're all quicker than the likes of Kin, Stereogram, M-Shep, Kaya and Mick, and that's going to mean, potential damage, potential mistakes, and the safety car is going to come in this time round, so we'll have to keep an eye on it, but this could help Owen with a lot of slower cars in between him and the chasing too, as M-Shep has hit the back of Kaya, and that could be front wing damage for the AlphaTauri man.
Yeah, there's definitely front wing damage. I can see an end plate just having come off the car. It's just sitting on the apex on the not the apex but the outside curb at Ascari, so that's going to cause some issues for the AlphaTauri driver. He has rejoined the session. The damage is visible in the car as well, so that will mean a pit stop for the AlphaTauri. He's got to do a pit stop anyway because he hasn't pitted yet, so he needs to go on the mediums. It's going to be interesting to see how Owen does on this restart. He has a chance to put a bit of a gap here, and maybe that can help him towards the end of the race if he could build up a lead and then just get enough gap to gain some places on the field when he does come in. He's holding them up a fair bit though.
I do wonder if there's any need to hold him up this much. I think he knows he's got the better edge of Marco. It's not like he's got Lemons or Theo behind him. He's got Marco. No offence to Marco, but you expect Owen to sort of have the edge at a safety car restart over the two. But Owen has gone now, and already you can see Wet Lemons behind, attacking Red Bull Kim Aserogam. Needs to be careful not to overtake anyone before the start-finish line. But you can see M-Shep now attacking Kaya. They made damage before. I thought maybe M-Shep would come into the pits this time round, but he's making a move inside turn 1. What a move! The AlphaTauri man up into P3 already. And Wet Lemons behind him are still trying to make their way through the field. Now behind Stereogram, they've got clear of Red Bull Kim, who's dropped down to 12, so a very scruffy start for Red Bull Kim, dropping many places, and now Stereogram is starting to attack Kaya for P4 and P5. All the while, this has allowed Meyer Quemby to start to pull a gap up front, and I think Stereogram is going to miss that completely. He missed his brakes, he has to back off, he has to let Kaya back through again, and that's not what he needed. But Lemons is now attacking Kaya around the outside, the championship leader. Can he hold it? Kaya says no, shuts the door, and Stereogram there finally lets Kaya back through again. That gives an extra place to Wet Lemons and to Daniel P. Wheelnut. But this is brilliant stuff. Yellow flag in Sector 2. Will that be another safety car we can see now? Wet Lemons.
It's Theo.
Oh, not what Theo needed.
Good off.
And Wet Lemons up the inside of Kaya takes P4 from the McLaren man. A good move from the Ferrari driver. And now Wheelnut will have to try and get through as soon as he can to keep in distance with Wet Lemons, who goes very wide. He's in the wall. Wet Lemons with huge damage. He's crashed into the barriers. Very lucky to keep all 4 wheels on that car, but it's back to the pit stops for a new front wing, new tyres, and to serve that 5-second time penalty. This is a brilliant chance for the likes of Sayers Sports and Daniel Wheelnut to win this race. Wow. Jonas, what happened to Theo?
Theo, I think he's lost it at the second chicane. I was going to say at the restart, he made it. He went for
Oh, he's fell in the pit lane again.
Oh dear. Yeah, on the restart, Theo went for a maneuver inside the thing to pull Wheelnut into the first chicane. Wheelnut held him off, and then it looks like Theo's just lost it in the second chicane, and that's dropped him to the back of the field, which is a shame for him. With Wet Lemons having his front wing damage and Camo Babo having spun to the back early on, it was a good opportunity for Theo to really make up some ground at the championship, but now he's got it all to do in P17. Meanwhile, Owen is definitely pulling away. He's already got 6 seconds in the lead car that's pitted, which is Daniel P. Wheelnut now. He's got a car between himself and Parson in P6.
Chris Johnson is a sitting duck. Mackie goes through. Jacko goes through. And looks like Mr. John may also be getting closer to Chris Johnson. And Cena's off in the background. Will that be a safety car? That's exactly what Wet Lemons needs. And it is a safety car. And that's Mr. John passing Chris before the safety car. After the safety car was entered, of course, he'll have to let Chris back through. But that is not what I think Owen can pit this time, surely, for soft tyres to go to the end.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be
mediums.
The strategy, I think. He's going to jump onto the mediums. Might drop down a fair few places, but it could be worse. It looked like Red Bull Kim just dropped it, and then Cena just had nowhere to go, and just was unfortunate and went into the side of the Haas. And it ended the AlphaTauri's race. Red Bull Kim very lucky not to be out himself, although he has got a fair bit of damage. I think he's going to be coming into the pits. And he does. So, very lucky break for Wet Lemons, who's going to be able to catch up to the back of the pack. Maybe he could stick on another set of softs if he's got
Hang on a minute.
Get rid of one of those penalties.
This is brilliant. Angel versus Death has already made a pit stop, isn't he? And he's 9th. So Stairgram and Kai are still to pit. That puts him a net P7. John a net P6. Jacko a net P5. This is brilliant stuff. Cababo somehow finds himself back up to 4th once Kai makes a stop. As to why Kai and Stairgram have stayed out, do you think there's a reason for that, Jonas? Because surely, why would you not pit now?
I'm not too sure, particularly with Stairgram. He's on the soft tyres. It was a perfect opportunity to pit. Same for Kai as well. Like, pitting up the end of lap 5, you can get to the end of the softs. It might be a little bit tricky towards the end, but it's more than manageable. So it's an odd decision for both of them.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Well, Bass's made 3 stops already in this race, so he's having a race to forget, but still somehow inside the top 14 points finishes. Theo Hitman, a race to forget in P15 at the moment. This is the second safety car of the session. We've only had 6 laps so far, and already about 3 of those laps have been behind this Mercedes AMG safety car. So Wheelnut then has the net lead. Parser will be second once Kaya dives into the pits. I think the Ferrari man will be hoping that Kaya dives in this time round. Sayer Sports is looking for another back-to-back podium finish. He has the most in TGB 2 history on 123. Can he make that 124 after tonight? Parser then second, Joe third, Cabo will be 4th once Kaya pits. Jacko will be looking very good in P5. Again, he'll be hoping Stairgram pits just ahead of him. Let's see what Kaya does this time round. Surely he's going to pit. I don't see why he would stay out unless it's going to be a 3rd safety car. Indeed he does. So that begs the question, why didn't you pit the last time, Kaya? That's an interesting one.
Yeah, that's going to drop us straight to the back of the field now. It's going to be interesting because you've got Banzer, Theo, Chris and Wet Lemons, all very quick guys, all up the back on soft tyres. Wet Lemons has pitted again, no penalty this time, that we will serve one, and I think that might just actually get rid of all these penalties, you know.
Yeah, that should be it for Wet Lemons, and I suspect he may well also go onto the soft tyres for a sprint to the end. I don't know if you can confirm that, Jonas, but surely soft tyres make the most sense.
Yeah, I can see Red Bull tyres on that Ferrari, so it's soft tyres for Wet Lemons.
Well then, what is realistic for Wet Lemons? He'll probably think he can still get maybe a top 10 in this race. I mean, there's probably a good chance with Stairgram still to pit. You suspect maybe a couple of easy passes on Kim, Kaya, I mean, looking ahead though, he's got the likes of Theo, Chris Johnson and Bazza all to pass, and we all know those guys know how to race in TGP2, so it's going to be a tough ask for the Ferrari man. Could well be on for a pointless finish here, and the gap that's currently 22 points at the moment is going down to just 10. This championship is getting closer and closer as we reach the finale in 4 weeks' time, but the safety car should come in this time round. Surely Wet Lemons is just catching up to the rear of the field. You can see in the bottom right corner of the screen. But Canababo, what can he do from this race? Can he win it despite spinning to the very back on the opening lap?
It's going to be interesting as well. I mean, P9 after his pit stop, so not too bad compared to what it could have been for the Mercedes driver, but he is on the freshest tyres, although they are mediums. All the cars in front of him are on 4-lap-old tyres, apart from Stereo Grammys on the tyres he started with. So he might have a bit of a pace advantage towards the end of the race, so we'll see how he does. It could potentially lead to another podium if he's got the pace on the guys in front.
Yeah, so all of the top 10 will be on mediums once Stereogram makes his stop. So I thought maybe Owen would be on the softs, but of course he is going to be on the mediums. He started on the softs, just chose to go a bit longer and avoid pitting, double stacking in that first stop. We're about to go racing again here in TGB2. How late will not leave? The safety car still yet to peel onto the pit, so they'll have to wait a little longer before they get going. But it's a Mercedes again who leads the recharge. Got to be very careful here. He's left it very, very late wheel nut, but he's about to go racing now finally. Can Passer get him down into turn 1? He's just 2/10 adrift as the Ferrari man. He's getting closer and closer. Surely a move on the inside of the turn 1 would be close enough. If he uses all of that Urs, but it's not going to be enough. Surely Sayers is defending already from Cababo. The two of them are dicing for 3rd and 4th. Can Joe hold on to that podium finish against this title contender? For now, it looks like he may just do so. Stereogram is still 5th ahead of John. Michael Kenny has passed Jacko for P7. What a move from him, but now Jacko below Mayor Quemby. He's now dropped another place. Mick Schumacher is still inside that top 10. But Sayers Sports crucially behind Cababo, and Cababo now trying to chase up and Passer and Wilnot for this race victory.
Ooh, and slight contact between the Red Bull of Mick Schumacher and Jacko, where they both get away with that. Owen's kind of made a bit of a move already on the restart. He's gained 2 spots already on Jacko and Angel versus Death. He's got Stereogram in front, he's just run a bit wide, and that's going to hold a little bit. He's going to have 4 cars very close together here.
Oh, I can't look, Jonas.
Entertaining.
I can't look. We've got Stereogram, Owen, Angel versus Def and Jacko all going into one corner at the same, and all 4 of them somehow get through it cleanly. You love to see it. Brilliant stuff. Stereogram cutting a bit of grass there to trying to keep out of the way, but Mayor Quemby has gained 2 places in one corner. Now Jacko back on the inside of Angel versus Def to take P8, and now surely P7 from Stereogram very shortly. Crucially, Cabao is still 2 seconds adrift, and Wet Lemons 8.5 seconds back from the leaders, now just outside the points in 15th.
Theo Hickman's just, Wet Lemons is on an absolute tear at the moment. He's just gained like 4 spots. Baz has just retired from the race. He's got into the pit and retired. But Wet Lemons already back up to 12. You can already see 9th right up ahead. As M-Ship's going for the move on Angel versus Death. Late move by Wet Lemons on, I think that was Mick Schumacher, but Mick Schumacher's managed to get back on him on the brakes, but lost it on the exit of turn 2s. Wet Lemons already back up to P11. Angel versus Death and Jacko getting very, very close through the corner.
There's too many cars.
A massive run for Ferrari. Who's hit the back of Angel versus Death?
Well, Lemons gained 4 places down that straight. Fantastic stuff, and Angel versus Death has spun round. He's at the back of the field. Not what he needed. He was having a great race, but it's not meant to be for the McLaren man as Jacko gets through on P7. Stereogram dropping back, still yet to make a pit stop in this race. Wet Lemons is theoretically up to 9th. He's already secured that top 10 finish as things stand, but does he have any sort of damage on that car? Passer is still a 2.5 adrift of Wilnot, who's looking for his first victory of the season. Cababo now less than a second behind Passer. DRS comes into play very shortly. Wet Lemons has Theo Hitman all over the back of him. Can Theo Hitman get through on the title leader? Indeed he can. What a move from the Williams man. He goes round the outside. You don't overtake there. He's through into 10th. Chris Johnson into 11th, and Wet Lemons falling now down to 12. This is a fantastic race, Jonas. I can't keep up, but that championship lead is crucially going to come down.
Yeah, there's definite damage to the Ferrari. Looks like it's lost the left end plate in the contact with the McLaren, and he's going to come into the pits again. So that is probably terminal for his chances for points in this race. Angel versus Death is going to take P14. Red Bull Kim 50. He's going to be at the back of the field apart from Carter. So it looks so good for Lemons, but Pearl, it's just completely turned on its head here during the race. Meanwhile, Theo Hickman's just taken P9 off his teammate, so Hickman's having a good recovery. M-Ship's having a look at Jacko for P7. Jacko's on the oldest of the ties of that little group as well. Stereogram just makes the move back and Theo Hickman below. Great move into the second chicane and immediately just pulls over right to the back of the train.
We've got Jacko then defending from M-Shep. Mayor Quemby attacking Mr. John. Mr. John has potentially been the standout man of the season, but it's going to be a hard job to keep Mayor Quemby back. He knows he's on quicker tyres and just generally potentially, a quicker champion. He's a two-time champion, Mayor Quemby. He's back now ahead into the top 5. So Mayor Quemby, who chose to stay out at the start of the race, is now working his way through the field nicely as Cannavaro trying to get round the outside of Parser into the final corner. He'll break a bit earlier. Tries to do the switchback down the start-finish straight. Parser, of course, teammate of Wet Lemons, Cannavaro's championship rival. How hard will Parser make him work as Wet Lemons has spun further back? He's now definitely not going to score here. He's out of the race. He's out of the race, the Ferrari man, so he's going to lose 18 points as things stand to Cannavaro. That lead's going to come down to just 4 points. This championship is brilliant. Cannavaro takes second. Now he's got 3 laps to try and hunt down Wheelnut to take the win.
Yeah, great move down the straight. Obviously, DRS assist. No, not you. Yeah, I think he might have just got DRS just during that, but Parser's trying his best to hold the Alpine off of his teammate, but he just couldn't.
Careful, Jacko. Ooh. Jacko and Theo going side by side. Looks like Jacko may have got a penalty for cutting turn 1. They're getting very close. These two need to be careful. They've got history at Canada. They're getting very aggressive with one another. I don't want to see this. Looks like, and they've spun round. Well, that was inevitable. Both of them spun round, and I think I saw that coming.
Yeah, that was pretty inevitable. They're fighting tooth and nail for the position. It's just a bit too heavy and aggressive for both of them. It's cost them both dearly. Jacko's still holding the P10, but Schumacher's looking likely to try and take that away. That has helped M-Shep though, who was just behind Jacko. I think he got the move done. So M-Shep had a good performance here for the AlphaTauri team. He's got a hold off Mackie Chris Johnson now. Chris Johnson's just taken P8 now. He'll be hunted down the AlphaTauri. The last few laps, we've got a yellow in sector 3, and that is Jacko. And he looks like he spun off when he spun off in qualifying. So, it looked good after that one for the Alfa Romeos. They charged up the field from the back, but now...
Parser up the inside of Cannavaro, retakes P2 from the championship contender, but Cannavaro goes straight back through again to take it back. Cannavaro and Parser dueling down the whole straight and into the first chicane, but Parser Cannavaro retakes the position ahead of Parser. The championship leader is out of this race. He's not going to score anything. Cannavaro at the moment going to score 18 points more, but Parser can potentially help his teammate, but not by doing that. That's going to cost him, and looks like Cannavaro now has clean air in P2.
Yeah, Cannavaro's got a lap and a half to chase down the Mercedes. I can't see how he's going to do it. Well, that has a real one wrong in this race.
Chris Johnson loses the back end, fighting with M-Shep, and now he's got Endas and Mackie hunting him down. So battles throughout the field here. Theo Hickman is fighting Marco for P10 and P11. Kai is down in 15th. Rebel Kim, an excellent P12 at the moment, just holding off Angel versus Death in 13th. Of Stereogram looking to get another points scoring finish, and passes out of the race. He's crashed out. And that promotes everyone behind up another place. That's not where he needed, at the same place that we saw Sean crash earlier on. As Theo Hickman and Mick Schumacher get very close. I thought again we were about to see another incident, but thankfully not. And Parser, you can see on the left side, surely, there he is. The Ferrari just about recovers. And that promotes Joe up to P4 and Mr. John up to P5.
Yeah, great performance from Mr. John from the back of the grid. Just keeping out of trouble. Not putting in a major fight when he doesn't need to, like with Owen, for example, who, like I thought might happen, he had a chance for podium after the second safety car and getting onto the fresh mediums, and he's done the job. He's up to P3. He's just got to keep it out the barriers for the last lap. Camo Babo not really closing on Wheelnut, so as long as Wheelnut keeps out track on the final lap, it's going to be his second career win in TGB2 and his first of the season. Angel versus Death of the time penalty as he makes a move on Red Bull Kim. So that might just drop him down at the end of the race, down to P12.
Yep, so Rebel Kim, P12 at the moment, potentially P11 ahead of the McLaren man. That would be a good points finish for Kim. Of course, Kim currently has a strong run of points finishes. He's been in the points 9 races in a row, the second longest running streak behind only Mr. John. But what a race it's been here from Daniel Pierre-Wilnot. He's about to claim his first victory of the season, the second of his career, and what a time to do it, showing why he really is the man to beat next season. Cannavaro is not going to care that he's second. He's going to gain 18 points on his championship rival. That gap's going to come down from 22 to just 4. Wilnot wins here at Monza. What a drive from the Mercedes man. Calababa takes second, and there's two Mercedes men on the podium. Stay Sports, an excellent P4. Not quite the podium for him this time round. And Mr. John, what can you say? Once again, inside that top 5. What a drive from him. Chris Johnson is 6th. M-Shep's going to get 7th. There's battles further back. Looks like Stereogram and Jacko are fighting for P13 and P14. 2 points in it for 13th, 1 point for 14th. And Jacko, it's like Premier League versus Championship, takes the place quite comfortably. Now can Kaya try and get a point in this race? He's just going to miss out, I think. No, because Stereogram picks up a time penalty. Kim does indeed get the place from Michael Kenny as Kaya runs wide. Needs to make sure he stays within 3 seconds now. Jacko and Stereogram, if he's to gain 2 places into P13. Jacko will cross the line 13th, Stereogram 14th, but I think Stereogram's going to lose the point, unfortunately, and he's gone wide the final corner. Oh, and he's round. Williams the man. What a shame. At the very final moment of the race, Jacko takes the fastest lap right at the end, so he pitted for new tyres then on the penultimate lap. But wow, that has just made the championship even more exciting, John, as the gap down to just 4 points.
Yeah, that's really thrown it wide open. A great recovery from Camo Babo, down in P20 on lap 1 to finish on the second step of the podium, splitting the two Mercedes. But it's Daniel P. Wilnut with his first win of the season, and a well-deserved one as well.
What a race it is there from Daniel P. Wilnot, the 5th winner of this season. What a drive it was from him throughout. Kept a cool head while the championship contenders made mistakes further back. He was the man that stepped up, and what a race it was as well from Mr. John to take 5th, and Sayers Sports in 4th. Owen came back to recover from a early tactical error, you would say, to stay out, to finish 3rd. 2 Mercedes on the podium here at Monza, and you can see a nice row of Ukrainian flags here on the grid. We're going to Russia next, and I can't wait to see 3 Ukraine flags on the podium in Russia.
Yeah, it would be brilliant to see the 3 Ukrainian flags on the podium. Yeah, very, very intriguing race for the championships. Really just thrown it all right up in the air. 4 points to gap now, and really could be any one of the two who could win this title. Wilnut isn't out of it, but he does. I think he's around. He was 61 points down before tonight. He has closed 25 though, so that would put him 36 points off. So he's definitely in with a shout if a similar result were to happen here for the 2 title contenders at the moment.
Well, we're off to Russia next then for the 16th round of this season. There's just 3 weeks to go after tonight. Of course, the remaining races are to be taking place at United States and Brazil. We're off to the Americas next week. Then we're off to sort of Asia, Australasia. We're there for, of course, Singapore and Australia. And then the final week, we're into the Middle East for Abu Dhabi and Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very good final few weeks. A couple of newer tracks for the drivers that they might not have practiced so much on, such as Saudi Arabia. Be interested to see who will be on top at a track like that. Very challenging circuit as well. High speed, barriers very nearby. But before that, we are obviously here at the next Grand Prix. Another 18 minutes of quali, 13 lap race distance. Very, very easy to take a bit too much curbs in that round here, get yourself a time penalty. The strict corner cutting is very strict round here, I can tell you that from previous experience. So drivers got to be very precise with their lines and try and keep out of trouble early on. Tyre wear very, very low around here. You can easily pit lap 1, even if you're on the mediums, get on the softs and do the rest of the race. It really does last a while, these Pirellis. I think we will be ready just shortly. Obviously there is a driver change for the second round. Mike Noon jumping in place of Mackie at the Alpine team. as we prepare for the next session. Let's see how we are weather-wise as well. Could there be a threat of rain to turn things on its head yet again? Or would it be a dry one throughout? We wait and see. As we're about to start the qualifying session for, I've got to figure the round number, I believe it's round 17 or 18, who knows. All we know is there's 7 races to go, including this one, and the title race is hotting up. So we've just got the 30-second countdown. We've just got a couple of people waiting to ready up. Obviously, none of them have clicked their tyre selection yet. I mean, it is a challenging choice of one option, and one option only. Looks like we're about to get ready, though, as the countdown has now finished. And here we are then for the next round of the TGP2 season. And it's very grey and murky, I'll tell you that. Could there be a threat of rain in the air? Will the cars have to rush up very quickly? We'll wait and see.
Well, as I said, the championship lead, the gap down to just 4 points between Wet Lemons and ERT Camo Babo. This championship is getting closer and closer. Every race, the two men at the top sort of making mistakes very regularly, and that is allowing potentially the trio behind of Chris Johnson, Theo Hickman, and Daniel Pewilnot to close. But Daniel Pewilnot will have gained huge strides by claiming 25 points in the last race. 25 points gained on the title leader, so he'll find himself right in that title fight now, won't he?
Yeah, I believe the gap's 36 points, so, you know, any mistake from the two the front two in the championship, and Wilnut is there. Of course, some people viewing him as a possible favourite for next season, but he could just steal much and take the title himself this season. Maybe not the quickest out the three, but he does seem to be the most consistent at the moment, keeps it out of trouble, doesn't make too many mistakes, and brings the results that he needs to stay in the hunt.
Indeed. So, of course, as I mentioned, we're here in Russia. This race was always going to be tonight. Just very fortunate timing that it is, of course, in time with the Ukraine attacks from Russia. Very interesting times we live in 2022, and yet for some reason we're in a time where war is apparently the answer. Well, of course, we don't agree with that. I don't think any of the world other than Russia agrees with that. We hope some sort of peace can be found soon, and Ukraine for doing a wonderful job defending their country. Really inspirational to see from the Ukrainian people, really showing, you know, the good stuff in human life. But we're here at Russia, and as I said, the race was always going to be tonight. We did discuss whether the race should be changed. I think Mexico and Japan were two alternative venues for this TGP2 race. But despite that, it was decided to stay at Russia, with it only being 4 weeks to go in the campaign. Of course, it was very late notice to suddenly just change the track a few days before in a championship battle. So it was decided in the end to ultimately stay at Russia. But of course, all the drivers, as you will now see, are running Ukraine flags here in the lobby. Apart from Cena, who's gone Barbados because he doesn't know how to change it. But everyone else running either the world or the Ukraine flags, which of course is great to see. Now... Yeah. Oh, God, sorry, go on.
No, that's absolutely all right.
I was just going to say, Red Bull Kim, of course, the oldest driver in TGB2. About 52 years young is Red Bull Kim. And, I mean, showing his age here, he used to be in the army, the Danish army, defending his country, Denmark. And Red Bull Kim, of course, I mean, it's really hit home what's going on at the moment. Red Bull Kim has been through a lot. You know, I look forward to the podcast one day with Mike and Kim, because Kim has a lot to say. And, yeah, I mean, let's follow Kim then now here in TGB2. Let's see how he gets his lap right. He's on the soft tyres. He's looking for his first time lap in the session. Let's see how Kim hooks it all up. You can see the gear shifts, perfecting it every corner. Cena jumps out of the way. Not too much of a distraction for Red Bull Kim. Kim managing to stay clear as Kai goes quickest with a 1:35.468. Kai and Kim have been rivals throughout this whole season. And you can see Red Bull Kim deploying the DRS down this straight. That Urs management going down. He gets the break in perfect here. Does he know? He's missed the corner. He's gone wide. And Red Bull Kim asked me to do a hot lap with him. And, well, look what you've done, Kim. You've gone for a spin at the third sector of the track. But Red Bull Kim then will now wait for everyone else to rejoin the track, as he always does. Very safe driver is Red Bull Kim. But Theo Hitman's gone quickest with a 1:32.2. 3/10 clear of Cannavaro.
This drops a frame.
Oh!
This drops a frame.
Wow then, rain is falling here at Russia, and that's a horrible time for Kim to mess with his lap, because now he might not get a better lap in. Only 9 drivers with lap times in this session. It's Theo Hitman who's quickest, and that might be enough to get pole position, because, well, I mean, it's raining and Wet Lemons has yet to set a lap time in this session. He's only now coming up to the first set, and you can see all the cars in front of him, the traffic, all of these cars who have just completed laps, the rain starting to come down, and it's just not good time for Wet Lemons. He was 22 points clear before tonight, the gap's down to 4, and now he's finding himself up against it here in qualifying. He's got Chris Johnson right ahead of him. Chris Johnson on lap 2, so Chris Johnson will claim, well, I'm on a lap as well, so you've got to back off, and Wet Lemons is really struggling out here. You can see the rain's falling. It's starting to get wet very quickly here at Russia, just like the race in 2021 when Lando Norris cruelly lost the win in the closing stages to Lewis Hamilton on the closing laps. Wet Lemons this time is not going to be anywhere near good enough to get inside the top 10. I feel it's going to be 11th at best for the Ferrari man. Maybe he's got enough tyre life to go again, but the rain coming down, he's backed off. Wet Lemons, he's backing off, I think.
I think he's going to try and do one more lap, if possible, just save up the ERS as much as he can. Camo Babo right behind him, Chris just in front. I said at the start of the session, it looked very grey. Could they all be rushing out? It turns out I was correct, my hunch was right.
They were indeed rushing out. I like that one, Jonas. I like that one.
That was not intended at all, I will be honest with you. But yeah, Camo Babo pits, Wet Lemons going again. He's got to get a lap time in. Even if he's, a second or so slower, that's going to be P7, P8 as opposed to P14 or 15, but he's gone P11 for the time being. That's immediately P12.
We are seeing improvements. We are seeing improvements further down. Pass has gone quicker. He's P3. We've got yellow flags in the final sectors. Cars starting to spin in these tricky conditions. Crucially, DRS is still active, so therefore it is still not quite wet enough for what would be intermediate tyres. It's still dry enough to get some good laps out there, but just not good enough to get anywhere near the pole time of a 1:32.2 by Theo. I think the lap time is safe unless it starts to dry out again in the final 12 minutes of this session. But Wet Lemons is really up against it. It's not been the cleanest of first sectors, but I mean, what can you do in these tricky conditions? He's got clean air at least for now. There's an AlphaTauri a few corners ahead of him. He'll try and get a lap time in. Rebel Kim, 2 minutes 13. He's 14th at the moment, not a lap time that he'll be happy with. Can he improve now around the final corner? Rebel Kim does find a big improvement, but still only 14th quick, as Wet Lemons has still got the advantage of the DRS. This will be his final time lap, surely, in the session. We may get a bit of a lull in the closing minutes here. M-Shep, not much of a problem for Wet Lemons. He is 4 seconds up after the second sector, so he's going to find time. But again, I don't think he's going to be anywhere near good enough to get himself inside the top 5. Maybe it's going to be 6th or 7th. Jonas, what do you think?
I think going by the sector type, you're really struggling to even hit the top 10 here. I think he might just squeeze in an 8th or 9th, possibly.
Well, Jacko goes second. Jacko's just gone second. He's finding time. Maybe it's there is time. This is what Wet Lemons does around the final corner. He goes 6th. That's not bad. Crucially, inside the front 3 rows of the grid, but drivers are finding time out there. Let's go on Chris Johnson. He's pitting. It's not him we want to be following. It's Blair Grills. He's also coming to pits. A lot of drivers now making the pit stops. Angel versus Death around the final corner. He goes 15th behind his team. I know what he needed. Mr. John's going to start at the back. He's still in the pits. Bad time for him. What about Nooney? Around the final corner now, the most successful driver in TGB2 history in terms of race wins, can only go 12th.
Yeah, it was absolutely critical to get the lapping straight away here. You had the dry track. The rain fell after a couple of minutes. Theo Hickman definitely timing it right. Jacko doing a very solid job to get that time in this condition on those tyres, because he's done a few laps on them. And he's going to be up in second as it stands if it stays like it is with more rain falling on the circuit. Red Bull Kim just improves again into a 1:37, 16th position at the moment. Only the 2 positions behind his team, and that is it for Wet Lemons. He's P6 at best.
Wow. Rebel Kim found a lot of time, but stays 16th ahead of Angel versus Death. Sorry, goes ahead of the McLaren man. Mr. John Barry once again is going to start at the back. These two, you'd think they'd be at the front with their experience, but they're both going to start at the back. So they'll be fighting their way through the field in this race. Jacko, he's not finding time, surely. And I suspect that will be qualifying done, really, because surely it's just going to get too wet now for anyone to find improvements.
Yeah, I will say keep an eye on Baz, who's on an outlap. He's yet to set the time, so if he can set a quick time, maybe there's just a little bit of life left in the session, but just going from his own board, I think he's just struggling a little bit here. And it could be very unlikely that he's going to get too high up the order. But even a 15th is better than a 20th, so let's see how he does.
Well, Bazza then starts his time lap. Is this a circuit you like, John, as Russia? Is this a circuit you enjoy racing?
Yeah, it's... I don't find it too bad a circuit to drive on. I think I've won here in TGP1 in the past. There's a pure chance that the car in front had a time penalty and I didn't. So I feel that kind of shows the importance of just getting your lines right, trying to avoid the penalties where possible. It's a bit of a challenge to do consistently because the layout of the track just kind of invite you to dip a wheel out wide, get a bit of extra tarmac to just go faster through the corners, but of course it's very easy to get warnings for track extending, track limits, and easy to give yourself a penalty. We've got a number of cars starting to retire now. Mr. John's gone out on the Inters as well, so maybe it's just a bit too wet now, although DRS is still enabled. Baz is on a lap, he's set to be 106.5 in sector 2, through sector 2. So he could be looking at around 12th or 13th, I think, going by dry weather pace, maybe a little higher, who knows. But he's going through the last couple of corners now. You can see the Alfa Romeo sliding about in the corners. So definitely not the ideal traction for the car. He always made a mistake at the last corner. He's on a bit right. He's going to take P15. I said 15th was better than 20th. I didn't think he'd promptly go and stick at 15th.
Of course, Cannavaro had a spin at the opening lap, very Vettel-esque from, what was it, 2018 Italy, I think? Hamilton and Vettel. And Cannavaro reported that he just missed his braking point and unfortunately tried to avoid Chris, but by doing that, tapped the side of the Alpine man, unfortunately spun himself round. So there's no anger from Cannavaro. He simply made a mistake himself, and in the end he recovered to P2. What a result it was for the Alpine man, and this championship's really coming alive because Cannavaro, who's just 4 points adrift of his title rival, is going to start ahead of his rival, at least here at Russia. It's still sort of very faintly racing, and the DRS is still in play, so it's only faint rain, and I suspect maybe if drivers were improving 5 minutes ago, then maybe they could still be improving now, because, you know, could Cannavaro potentially take pole here? If Jacko's just gone second in these very similar conditions, could Cannavaro go quickest?
I'm looking at Cannavaro right now. He's at 1.3 down through the second sector, so unless it's a very brief shower and then it passes, I can't really see anyone improving. Passer was a little bit down as well on his lap. P. Wilnut is 3.5 seconds down on his previous lap as well. Cannavaro's called
Well, there you go. They scored it.
That might just be it. Although Jacko's gone out again on fresh tyres, so I think he's going to give it another go, which is good to see. Someone's willing to stick it out. We've got a few cars on Inters now. Red Bull Kim, Mick Schumacher. Mr. John's actually got back out on the softs now, so I don't think he liked the Inters too much. Just seen Angel versus Death almost lock up into the barrier on the pit lane entrance. He just overshot the tight corner on the way in. Very easy to do, in all honesty, especially in these conditions, but he's kept it out of trouble and got in the pit lane safely. As Jacko is pushing on, we've got a Haas off there. I think that's Red Bull Kim just staying out of the way, as he tends to do. But Jacko's lost it. He's spun. I think he's just clipped the curb on the inside, and it's just thrown his Alfa Romeo around. He's got to wait for the Red Bull to go through. He's got a Haas as well. He'll get that back, pointing the right way, and be on his way. No damage to the car. He'll just get out of the way for Parser, who's on the lap as well. Let's see how Parser does through the middle sector. I don't think he's actually going to go very quick. He's not using ERS, so I think that's an in-lap for the Ferrari driver. Mike's still going though. He's only a second down in sector 2. He comes through the final corner, and yeah, it looks like he loses about half a second a sector here. So I think it's just a bit too wet now to really set a personal best. So at this point, it's more track practice, just getting to grips with the conditions, the layout of the track, just getting your lines right, your braking points, get your references in, and sort of set yourself up for the race a bit, because in terms of qualifying laps and grid positions, it's kind of out the window now for the field. So it's just getting some laps in, keeping out of trouble, just getting your reference points on the braking, where to turn in, what you could get away with the corners and what you can't get away with, just little things like that, just to get some extra knowledge for the race.
Well, as I said, the gap between the top 2 is down to 4 points, and the gap between the top 3 is down to 36. Daniel P. Wilnut is now 36 points adrift of Lemons, and both drivers could potentially be missing next week, which makes you think, could Daniel P. Wilnut even go and win the championship this season and suddenly be clear favourite to win next season, with the top 3 other than himself getting promoted? But as you said, no one out there is really finding any time at the moment. Just a bit too wet now for these drivers. Some drivers, in fact, have gone on intermediate tyres. Suggests now is not the time to be finding any improvements. And actually, Michael Kelly, then maybe you can find an improvement on that lap time that's 6.5 seconds off the pace. Mr. John's yet to set lap time in this session. Interested to see if he could go maybe into P18 or 17 if he can find an improvement. But now, if every driver was to retire, would it just skip to the race, or would we have to still sit here for 3 minutes and do a closing minutes?
I think if every driver retired, that would end the session and it would just go straight to the race. Jacko's just dropped it again, but I think it's more the conditions than anything. He's just seeing what he could get away with on the curves and that, and finding the limits.
Yeah, I was going to say, he needs to be careful here. He's spun at a very dangerous position with like 3 or 4 cars behind him. There's obviously always a threat that the game's going to think you're blocking other cars and maybe disqualify you, so you've got to be very careful. Maybe it's better just to be in the pits and avoid any kind of glitch within the game. But there's still drivers out there at the moment. Jacko's coming back into the pits and he spins on pit entry. Bit of throwing damage as well for his troubles as a Has coming around the final corner. I think it's Rebel Kim's now going to come round, and there's Jacko reset back onto the circuit. He's got another lap to do, does Jacko. Mick Schumacher and Michael Kenny going a bit of a race here. Maybe a bit of a warm-up for what's to come. Up the inside goes Michael Kenny at turn 1 and takes the position from Mick Schumacher. Lovely stuff, Johners.
I tell you what, that was a brilliant move. Down the inside, late on the brakes. Made the corner in tricky conditions on the dry tyres as opposed to Mick Schumacher's inters. That is a very, very good move by Angel versus Death.
There's a tyre on the track in the background. You can see an intermediate tyre just chill on there. I think the marshals maybe haven't had time to recover it.
Going through what I can see on the time reports, I think that might have been Kaya, who's out of the session and the only car out of the session on inters. So I think that we may have had a McLaren in the barrier at some point there. The other McLaren still minute around, throwing overtakes on people and doing a good job of it.
Yeah,
still
8 drivers,
pushing, as well.
8 drivers of the 20 have either called it or crashed out of this session. Conditions really are tricky. It's not as exciting when it sort of rains after the start. Oh, Jack has had a spin again. Jack has given us some good entertainment here, at least. I mean, I was going to say, it's always nicer when the rain sort of clears up towards the end and you get lap times improving. But of course, this way around, it's sort of, you already know the result. We're just sat here now waiting for the session to sort of come to an end. Jacko will return to the pit lane, giving us a bit of a sort of a photo finish, I think, with Marco. The two of them just, you know.
Oh, don't do anything silly.
Oh, and Jacko's got a penalty, and I mean, silly. I think Jacko was just trying to go side by side and do a bit of photo finish, but I mean, what's he doing? He's got himself a penalty. Why bother taking that risk, Jacko?
I don't understand that one.
Jacko's going to be kicking himself. Jacko's going to be kicking himself there.
Good news for Kame Babo, Wilnut and Wet Lemons. That's one place close to the front of the grid. The 3 title contenders will gain a spot, and that's going to put Kame Babo on the front row. Although a track like this with the run down to the first proper corner, turn 2, do you want to be on the front row? Would you rather be on the second row or the third row, get the slipstream, get the run down to the first chicane, and get the jump on the cars in the front, because the layout of the track kind of does benefit third and fourth more than first and second at the start, but we'll see if it's a dry race or if there's going to be more rain, because that will shake things up. It's already shaken a few things up here, but it's another pole for the reigning champion, Theo Hickman.
Well, Jacko holds his hand up, says he messed up big time, and, well, yes, he does. He, instead of starting on the front row with Theo, of course, Theo and Jacko have given us many great battles throughout the time in TGB2, and so we're not going to get that front row. Jacko falls down to P7 and potentially loses a potential race win. But look at this. Ukrainian flags are flying high here in Russia. It's going to be Theo and Karbabo on that front row, with Parsner and Wilner on the second row. Wet Lemons will start fifth, with Jacko demoted to seventh with his 5-place penalty for colliding with Marco on an in-lap. Chris Johnson will start eighth. Blair Grills is ninth, just behind Meyer Quemby, who had a very good qualifying once again in that midfield of the top 10 in P7. M-Shep completes your top 10 here in qualifying, and Wet Lemons, Jonas, not a qualifying to remember for him again, is it?
Yeah, it could have been worse though. He managed to get the lap in the end, just before it got too wet. Could have easily been right near the back, but even then, even with the wetter conditions than the cars in front, he was only half a second off, so there could be some genuine pace still for the Ferrari. I've got to say, I'm looking forward to this one. The run down to Tolmine is going to be very exciting. We'll see what happens. Is it dry? Is it wet? Similar conditions.
Yep, so looks like it's going to be a dry start then. Not quite raining, but the clouds showing that maybe it could rain throughout this race. So we're going to go racing again. We've got, what, 7 races left of this season. The gap 4 points between the top 2. The gap 36 points between the top 3. Daniel Pierre-Wilnot claiming his first win of the season puts him right back into that hunt. It's a 3-way fight for this title. Chris Johnson and Theo Hickman still looking to get involved, and Theo Hickman starts on pole position for this race. It's going to be crucial for his own championship hopes. We're about to go racing here at Russia. A grid full of Ukrainian drivers. Lights on. Lights off, and what a start it is from Theo Hickman. Crucially, he's keeping clear of the Alpine for now. Is he? No, the Alpine gets a better launch despite the initial getaway from Theo Hickman. The two Ferraris looking to surround him, and got a huge crash. Theo Hickman's out of the race. The Williams driver, not sure if he landed or just got stuck to a Ferrari, but Theo Hickman out of the session. Not what he needed from pole position. Out of the Grand Prix, and no surprise, the safety goes out. Wet Lemons up to P2.
It's a disaster for Wilnot though. He's got caught up in it. He's lost his front wing. So luckily for him, with the safety car, he can't get overtaken. Brilliant start for Wet Lemons. He had a really good initial launch, but just got a bit held up by the cars in front, which ultimately has saved him because they've had a collision. He hasn't. He's now P2. So that's the perfect start pretty much for the Ferrari driver, championship leader. Owen again keeping out of trouble. He's up to P3, Chris Johnson P4 as well. Chris Johnson just doing his typical thing of popping up near the front at the end, or early on in this occasion, where others fall. Jacko's already gained a couple of spots from his qualifying penalty. Mike Newton has gained 6 spots from the start, but has a penalty of, I don't know what he's got a penalty for. It looks like a 5-second penalty, so maybe some contact. Wilnot's still P7, which is fortunate for him because he can pit. He's not going to be held up because he's lost his wing. Owen's going to be in and out by then. And while he will lose time to some of the cars behind because of the front wing change, it's not absolutely back of the field.
Oh, Lemons stays out. He's not pitting. Why would you stay out, Lemons? What are you doing? He's throwing this championship away. I can't believe it. He stays out. Why? Just pit, Lemons. I don't believe it.
There's a few guys who've done it. Owen's done it as well. Mike's done it as well. They might be gambling on a second safety car or something here and hoping a lot of people stay out, which could be the case because I'm only seeing about half the field in. We need to have a look at that start again because that was a massive accident, and I'm astonished that the 3 involved aren't all out the race. It was just Theo. Very bizarre, but Kamababa coming out already. I'm only just behind Stereogram, who hasn't pitted, so...
Very rare then. Go on, sorry.
It just shows how much time some of the cars towards the back had lost because of the cars at the front of that group with no front wings struggling round. Because Camo Babbo, having made a pit stop on lap 1, almost jumped a car that has not pitted on lap 1, which is pretty crazy.
Well, very rare that we see so many drivers stay out on the opening lap under the safety car. The top 10 have all chosen to go further in this race, and you can see that 11th downwards have all made their stops. I thought Nooney would have come into the pits to serve his 5-second time penalty. If any of these top 10 again pit this time round, then I beg the question, why didn't you just pit on the first lap? Meyer Quemby breaking TGB regulation 7.3, not wearing a helmet in that car. John is now... I'm sure there's some safety regulations to do with that, but as you can see, Meyer Quemby is not racing with a helmet, maybe in protest of what's going on with Russia and Ukraine at the moment. But Meyer Quemby not wearing a helmet here in Russia.
Something a bit funny, I don't know if it pops up for you in Monza, but Owen actually had no face on the podium, he was just invisible. So,
Oh.
I don't know if that's just, I think that's just one of the quirks of the game happening there. 3 cars I wouldn't have expected to pit anyway. It was Bazza, who was at the back of the grid, who started on mediums, Kim, who started on the hards, which is an interesting strategy, and Kaya, who started on mediums as well. So those 3 were never going to pit anyway. And let's see, does anyone come in now? It's
M-Shep might be.
M-Shep is, because he's got damage on the front wing. So
Nooney's sticking with it then. Nooney's sticking with it, he's staying out. Despite the penalty, it's going to be P3, but a 5-second penalty to serve in his next pit stop. So then, only M-Shep pits from the top 10. That's going to promote everyone from 11th downwards up an extra place. Cannavaro, one less car to pick off. He's got Stereogram, Kaya, Kim, John, Bazza, Michael Kenny, Nooney, and Owen ahead before he gets back to Wet Lemons, his championship rival. And Wilnot, as you said, not so affected as much by the crash at the start because he has at least been able to get a new front wing. He's now behind the likes of Chris Johnson, Jacko and Joe, but he has potentially jumped Wet Lemons and his teammate Meyer Quemby, who both chose to stay out. I wonder if Meyer Quemby, who was ahead of Wilnot, actually chose to stay out so that he wouldn't hold his teammate up in the pits, knowing that his teammate is, of course, in the title fight. Well, Meyer Quemby, we saw it work for him at Monza. He chose to stay out under the first round of safety cars. He's second now at the moment, 3/10 clear of Nooney. I don't need to give you the gaps, of course. This is under safety car condition. We'll have one more lap of the safety car, this being that lap, then it will come in and we will go racing again for the remaining 10 laps of this Grand Prix, with the top 10 the top 9 yet to make stops in this race.
One interesting thing to point out is Joe, having started 14th and pitted, is 13th. He's a net P4. So well, I don't know how on earth he's done that, but Joe is a net P4 as it stands, having started 14th, and of course being in the middle of the grid. Someone has left the session. I didn't actually see who, or someone joined. I'll just have a look through.
Theo left the session.
A message pop up. Oh, it's Theo. Okay, understandable, considering he was unfortunate in the first lap and being out the race. Is the safety car in this lap? It is indeed. So we're about to get back underway here.
Yeah, about to go racing again. We'll have to have a look at what happened at the Turn 1 incident after the race. I'm sure the stewards will be looking into that. It affected both Theo and Wilnot, and of course brought out the safety car in this race. We're about to go racing though again once more. It is going to be Wet Lemons who leads them away. He's going to try and go as far as he can on those soft tyres before coming in for the medium tyres. He will hope and pray that there's another safety car or VSC later in this race, but maybe not just yet. He'll want it in about 5 or 6 laps time once he's filled a bit of a gap and can then make a pit stop and gain an advantage from not serving it under full racing conditions. So we're about to go racing once again. Then Wet Lemons waiting for the opportunity to go. He's got Meyer Quemby and Nooney right behind, racing to go. Nooney has won more races than anyone else in TGB2 history. Can he get one more to his 33 tally here tonight? We're going racing once again. Wet Lemons leads them across the line to start the 4th lap of this race. Meyer Quemby under attack already from Nooney. Can the Alpine man get through on the Mercedes driver? These both have championships in TGB2 in the past. Meyer Quemby, a 2-time champion. Nooney, just the one, but does have the most wins of all time. Can he get through round the outside of Meyer Quemby? He'll break a little later, surely. Meyer Quemby gets the break in, bang on, but Newey now has a chance to go round the outside and maybe take the position away from the Mercedes man. These two are going to go side by side. This is brilliant racing between the two. Who's going to come out on top? Going into turn 4, Mike Newey goes round the outside, which becomes the inside next corner, and he takes the place, but he's gone wide, way too much pace on that car, and has to slot in once again back behind the Mercedes man.
Oh, we've lost Angel Face's death. It looks like he's had an accident at the end of turn 3 into turn 4. Red Bull Kim's dropped the back as well. He had a little bit of
Mayor Quemby's gone! Mayor Quemby's round, he's out of the race, and is that going to be another safety car already on lap 4? He lost the back end of the car. It was looking so well for the Mercedes man, but he is out of this race. Not when he needed Cababo. Already up into P5, and he's already so close to Wet Lemons, and now surely the top 4 are going to dive into the pits onto the safety car, wishing they had pitted onto the first safety car, because now they're going to be right at the back.
Yeah, you have to wonder at that point, why did they not come in the first place? I was just saying, Red Bull Kim dropped to the back. He had a little bit of contact at the turn 2. I've noticed something interesting just before the restart. It was involving Camo Babo actually. Somehow he was ahead of Stereogram before the restart. Obviously he was behind Stereogram during the safety car, but before they got to the start line, he's already ahead. He hasn't got a penalty or anything, but I just thought that was an intriguing little note. I don't know if he
thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Or anything like that.
Like we saw last week, a driver lost a place because he overtook under safety car conditions, so Cababa could potentially lose a race victory. We'll have to look back at what happened later on, but Wheelnut is going to be back up to P5. Wet Lemons is down to P10. Not what he needed. He's 10 places behind his championship rival. Looks like Cababa is going to become the new championship leader here tonight. Jack goes into Chris Johnson second, and Stereogram out of this Grand Prix.
Yep, he's dropped it out in the last corner, straight into the barrier. That's an unfortunate one for him. A absolute disaster for the Williams team. Both cars out within 5 laps of the race. Chris Johnson's doing a good job, it has to be said though, from I don't think he had the highest of grid positions either, did he? No, he was 8th on the grid. He's up to P2 now. Joe especially is a standout, P4 from 14th. I just still don't know how he's done that. Maybe he got lucky with the accident at the start and just managed to pick his way through the traffic. A couple of penalties to Cena and Kaya as well. I think they might be 5-second ones. Wet Lemons P10, so could have been a bit worse, but I think that was kind of aided by the fact a few cars behind him have also had to pit as well. So not great for him, especially with Camo Babo leading the race. Wheelnut, despite losing his front wing at turn 1, is 5th. So that's a heck of a recovery already from the Mercedes.
Well, very strange is, but we managed to obtain footage of Theo Hitman's start from the Russian Grand Prix. Oh, looks like the Mercedes Wheelnut just turns in on it and sticks Theo Hitman in the barrier. So Wheelnut maybe not quite looking where he's going. Not for the first time this season. I believe in Hungary, Wheelnut sort of came across Theo and into the wall he went. So that could be a penalty for Wheelnut in this race. Not what he needed in this championship fight. But yeah, he's on the right of Theo. Just turns left. Theo with nowhere to go and almost beats the high jump records, of course, set by Kong Hoffner in TGB1 last season.
I was just trying to figure out what car Kong Hoffner was in. I think it was in the Aston, wasn't he, as opposed to the Williams. I was going to say, I could say Mercedes powered cars just seem to like getting some airtime around here, but just a couple of cars at the back have pitted, Kaya and Mick Schumacher. But yeah, the only silver lining for Wet Lemons, who's now P9 of course, with a couple of cars having pitted, is his 2 title contenders have potential penalties looming over their heads. So if he makes a few positions here, gets close to the back of him and then gets the penalties, it actually works out it works out well for him. He gains from this race rather than losing out due to the interesting pit call. Although Owen did make it work in Monza, so we've still got 8 laps, 7 at the end of this lap to go, so he's still got time to turn this around. And a few of the guys in front, I think he'd feel confident about getting them on the restart, gaining a few spots straight away. One of them possibly being his teammate playing a team game, pulling over. A couple of AlphaTauris as well between them both. So, not the end of the world at the moment, but could be better for the championship leader.
Well, half distance here at Russia. It's our 4th safety car of the night. A lot of drivers seem to be able to pretty good at crashing out on their own and bringing out the safety car. We're about to go racing again, and Wet Lemons has a lot of work to do. Currently P9. Cena has a penalty to serve up in 7th, but the rest of the field are all now squeaky clean to the end of the race. You can see the big movers of Joe Sayer. Sayer Sports up into P4, 2-time champion, showing his experience there. Mr. John's up 8 places, and 6 places gained for Chris Johnson. The safety car, though, is coming in this time round. We're going to go racing now to the end of this race, surely. Who is going to take victory here at Sochi? When will we see the Alpine go? He'll sort of back off now to allow the safety car to pull the gap. Then he will begin the race coming into the final corner. Also, he could go now if he wanted to, but the safety car not quite far enough ahead for him to do that. That option is out of the window at the moment. The safety car will come in slowly into the pits. You'll see it just in the top of your screen now, potentially.
No, you won't. Turn the corner now. When does he drop the clutch and go, so to speak? Looks like he's gone for it now, and he might have caught Chris Johnson napping a bit there.
Yeah, he has. Good start for Cannavaro. Good restart. Chris Johnson, 2nd place, just about holding on to Jacko. Can Jacko get Chris down into turn 1? He'll use all of his employment now to try and get through as soon as possible. Chris Johnson will still believe he has a chance in this championship. Wilnott's going side by side with Parser. Both these drivers on the medium tyres. Parser, the lead Ferrari man, not what Wet Lemons wants to hear. He needs to gain places as soon as possible. As Cena goes up the inside of Wilnott to take P6. What a move from the AlphaTauri man. Can Wilnott get back through around the outside? Not quite. He hasn't got the grip. And now M-Shep is starting to attack him. He's in an AlphaTauri sandwich with Wet Lemons behind the pair of them. Cena's going wide, gone off the circuit, and that might allow Wilnott to get a bit closer. Not quite, but that will give Cena a warning for a time penalty. M-Shep, oh, that's very late from M-Shep. He's missed his braking, and he'll have to get the place back. Surely, he's just got the corner to gain the place, which should allow Wet Lemons to go through on M-Shep. M-Shep runs wide, but Wet Lemons not quite able to get through just yet. And there he goes.
It might now. Yeah, there's more damage than that AlphaTauri. That's another front wing. Yeah, a disastrous restart for Wilnott as M-Shep just hopped the curve.
That's your own fault, M-Shep. That's your own fault.
Yeah, disastrous restart for Daniel P. Wilnott. He was ahead of Parser. Parser got him on the restart, just timed it very well. And then Cena surprised. M-Shep got him, and now Wet Lemons Baz has now gone round as well. So not good for the Alfa Romeo. I don't think it's got any damage. Should be able to carry on from there, try and get some places back. Meanwhile, though, Cannavaro is just streaking away. He's almost 2 seconds clear already of Chris Johnson. Jacko trying to stick with the Aston Martin in P2, just out of DRS for the moment. Joe was caught sleeping on the restart. He was already a second down before the start line, and he's now got Parser on his tail. Parser really putting the foot down at the moment, so it gained a couple of spots already on the restart. He's looking for another one. Very late on the brakes there, almost too late on the brakes. But he's going to be chasing down Joe for P4. Keep an eye on Wet Lemons as well. He's on the back of Cena for P6. Got pretty close into turn 2, didn't make a move. Cena's just ran a bit wide as well, so that might just help the Ferrari close in. As Parser's now down the inside, takes P4, and will now chase after Jacko for the podium.
Can Joe come back through and Parser? Not quite close enough. Is the Haas man running up in P5 at the moment. Wet Lemons is 6th as Nooney gets back through on Blair Grills into P8, looking to make his way up through the field as well. Wet Lemons stuck behind Cena, who himself is stuck behind Sayer Sports. This might allow Wet Lemons to maybe get a run on the AlphaTauri man, but the AlphaTauri man getting a great slipstream from the Haas driver. Sayer Sports looking to defend that P5, but Cena is going to go right round the outside, which becomes the racing line for the next corner. Will Joe get on his brakes a bit later? He pushes Cena wide. That might allow Wet Lemons to go round the outside of the pair. Then Wet Lemons, be careful, man. Why is he accelerating when he knows they're going to make a mistake? You need to be cautious, Wet Lemons. And he now finds himself still behind both Sayer Sports and Cena.
Yeah, interesting one for Joe is I don't think he started. I think he started on mediums and pitted lap 1 because he's on the soft tyres. So I said it was possible in qualifying that you can, pit on lap pit at the end of the first lap, get on the softs to get to the end. Joe's trying it, but maybe it's just his general pace to the cars around him as well. That's sort of exaggerating it, but a number of cars have got him fairly early on already.
Oh dear. Wet Lemons and Joe spin round. Clumsy driving from all the drivers tonight. Wet Lemons is out, he's crashed out. Oh no, someone's gone into him and he's to DNF. Oh dear. Parser looking to try and get through on Jacko for P3. Cababa leads for now. Chris Johnson second and Jacko third.
All of a sudden, it's a 22-point lead in the championship for Camo Babo, as it stands. So this has really turned on its head tonight.
Oh, someone's at the door. We have to leave it to Jonas for a couple of minutes.
No worries. So Jacko now defender from Parser. Parser with the DRS. He's going to easily get the position off the Alfa Romeo driver down into the braking zone at the end of Sector 2 and Sector 3. Parser's looking good to possibly chase down Chris Johnson. Jacko will get the DRS as well into the next lap. He's just got to keep with the Ferrari, try and see what he can do there. Joe's now dropped down to P7 behind Senior and Blair Grills. Daniel P. Wilnut struggling in 8th, just doesn't seem very comfortable with the circuit since the restart. Mr. John's doing his usual good work, got himself back into the top 10. Baz has also recovered to 10th after that spin. Mick Schumacher still P11, Nooney in 12th, Kaya 13th, Red Bull Kim holding on to the last point, M. Shep having pity, he's 15th and last. But Parser managed to hold off Jacko on the start of the lap. Jacko's actually dropped off a fair bit. Chris Johnson's holding on to P2 for now. This looks to be the closest battle on track, so we'll keep with it. Although saying that, Wilnut in P8, closing up to Joe in P7, Sayer Sports. Not close enough for a move. Meanwhile, Blair Grills now having a look at Cedar for P5. Goes down the inside, very close between the two. A little bit of wheel rubbing, but rubbing's racing, as they say. Blair Grills takes P5 for Aston Martin. Parser, though, definitely one on the charge right now. He's trying to close up to Chris Johnson, just got a little bit twitchy just before the DRS straight, and even with the DRS he's not going to be close enough to really make a move here at the end of the straight, and thinks better of it, just slightly grazes the wall. Hopefully doesn't give him any wing damage, as Bazza takes P9 off Mr. John at the DRS. Fairly comfortable move for him. Daniel P. Wilnut now has passed Joe's Sayer Sports for P7. Cena sticking with the back of Blair Grills at P5 as well, so quite a few battles in the field, as Mike takes P11 of Mick Schumacher as well. So as you can see, a number of battles through the field as we come to the last 3 laps. A penalty for M-Shap for corner cutting by the looks of it, as Parser now makes the move for Chris Johnson down the inside quite comfortably. DRS enabled, even without any DRS left on the Ferrari. He makes the move, takes P2, manages to get it stopped for the corner. Jacko gets a penalty for track limits. That's going to ruin his chance of a podium, but he should be safe in P4. Parser holds off Chris Johnson through the end of turn 3 to turn 4, and will start to pull away now in the middle sector. Meanwhile, Cena just dropping back for Blair Grills. Blair Grills, of course, on the soft tyres. I don't think he's going to be able to catch the group in front that are fighting for the podium, but he will do his best with the last 2.5 laps. Cena gets a penalty now for multiple warnings, so he will struggle to hold on to P6 because Wilnut started to close in. He's bringing along Sayer Sports. Jacko sticking with the 2 cars in front, and yeah, they Constantine are up into the last sector, closes them all up. Obviously, 3rd and 4th going to get the DRS on 2nd place. Cena gets another penalty, so he's just given up his sense of sticking it between the lines now. There's Sector 3, yellow flags, and that is Cena done for the day. I think he's just overdriven the car and made a mistake. Puts Mike into the top 10, Mr. John up to 9th, Bazza into P8. Chris Johnson there with DRS. Parser's had a good final sector. It's let him pull away, and it's going to be Edgewell in the fight for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Meanwhile, Sayer Sports has got a number of cars starting to close in on him. not quite close enough to mount an attack on the penultimate lap here. Kamet Baba, meanwhile, he's just keeping things tidy at the front, putting away 3 seconds needed gap now. Jacko closing up on Chris Johnson, just gives a little weave around just to let Chris know he's there as Chris checks the mirrors. Bear Grylls 3 seconds off Jacko. He won't be able to close in enough and has a penalty of his own, so that means he, even with Jacko's penalty, Bear Grylls isn't going to jump the spot. Baz is still closing safe, P7. But this is turning into a comfortable race for Camo Babo, and will give him the lead in the championship as well. The fight for second still going, but just as you are for now, none of the three really close enough to each other in order to get an attack going with DRS, and I believe Dom is now back.
Yeah, so the gap, 22 points it was. 22 points in favour of Wet Lemons. He's now going to find himself 21 points behind, maybe 22, if Cabo gets the fastest lap in this race. So that would find Lemons with a 44-point loss tonight, if Cabo can take the fastest lap here. Not sure he's got it at the moment, but he's currently going to get 25 for the win. We've got a lap car coming out. Is that ahead of Chris Johnson? No, sorry, it's Parser. I thought for a moment there's a lap car coming out. That's how slow I've been the last couple of laps. But Chris Johnson now attacking Parser once again, trying to take back P2 from him. He's got to be careful because Jacko is sitting back, waiting for any sort of mistake from these two. We've got Mshet back up to 14th, Lucina out of this race. Kaya in 12th at the moment, just about ahead of Rebel King. Mr. John is fighting Marco for P10 and P11 with Bazza just ahead of that duo, but we got to stick with this for now. It's Parser, Chris Johnson and Jacko all fighting for the final places on this podium. The slightest bit of limit outside the track, and suddenly Chris Johnson could find himself with a 3-second time penalty because he's already on 2 warnings, and that would allow Jacko to get the place back if he can get through on the circuit. Chris Johnson needs to be careful. It's the last lap of this race. Cababo coming round now to do the back straight for the final time of this race. Coming into the final sector, can Jacko get through on Chris Johnson? Will Chris Johnson just let him go? Doesn't necessarily need to fight him if Jacko getting that time penalty. You can see side by side, through goes Jacko. Chris Johnson does not make him work for it, lets him go. Sensible decision, and can now finish P4 and take third after the time penalties applied to Jacko. But Cababo is going to come round now to take a fantastic victory. He entered tonight 22 points adrift of Wet Lemons. Some said it was too much of an ask for the Alpine man, but he's showing that he is very much one of the favourites, if not the favourite for the season. Around the final corner, he wins in Russia. What a drive from Cababo. Parser is second with Jacko third, which becomes Chris Johnson on that final podium spot. Blair Grills will be fifth with Wheelnut coming home to take P6. What a race, and Kaya is fighting Mr. John for P11 and P12. Up the inside, the McLaren man. Can he take the place from the Red Bull? What a move from Kaya. Mr. John might have damage, it seems. The Rebel man struggling out there. He will get P12 at best then as Kaya gets through. He takes the place. What a move from the McLaren man. Kaya will take fantastic points all. It's going to be 4 points for the McLaren man. What a race, Jonas. Who's your driver of the day?
Oh, that's a good call. I think in terms of performances, and that it probably would be unwise to bet against Camo Babo. A first and a second, a recovery through the field in Monza, a controlled race at the front in this round, and a big lead in the championship now. I think he has to be my driver of the day, in all honesty.
Well, Mr. John gets the driver of the day. That's back-to-back driver of the days for the Red Bull man. Finished P12 in the end, so I'm surprised he got it. I would have given it maybe to Cababo, Chris Johnson potentially. Great race from him, but look at that.
Yeah.
A full Ukraine podium here at Russia. That's our message that we're sending out. 3 Ukraine flags on the top step of the podium here in Russia.
I think there may have been a bit of an incident towards the end involving Mike, Bazza and Mr. John. It was just as you came back from having to be away for a moment. I think there was an incident that resulted in Bazza and Mr. John having damage. I'm not sure what's happened because I've only caught the end of it. But Mr. John obviously lost his win, Bazza had some damage, and Mike gained 2 spots. So we'll see what comes of that. But there we are. That's your result screen here.
Good to see. Top 14, all with the Ukraine flag. Your championship leader now is ERT Cababa getting the maximum points all he could have possibly got here with a first and a second. What a race it's been from Cannababo at both circuits tonight. We'll not all be happy with this points all, and Chris Johnson just about keeping his title hopes alive. Join us next week. We're off to the States for America and Brazil. But from me and Johners, good night, and we'll see you next time.